Today we're going to discuss expressions and formulas. Each lesson that we do this year will start off with a standardized test practice problem. What these are designed to do is just to help you prepare for your ACT, your SAT, your TSI, just a little extra practice. This will count towards your note grade every day, so you want to make sure you do it. Sometimes you won't need the space to work the problem, but you'll always want to circle the answer. So let's just give this one a shot. It reads that chairs for a wedding can be rented at the cost shown in the table below. Based on the pattern in the table, here's a key word that is going to tell us how to work this. What is the cost to rent 250 chairs? So what we do is we look at and we see what the patterns are in both columns. So in the left-hand column, the number of chairs are increasing by 50 each time. We can check it as we go. So that means our next amount of chairs will be what we want, 250. And we go over and look at the cost, and we can see that the cost is increasing by $125 each time. So if we want to add another 125 to 500, we will find out that the cost for renting 250 chairs is $625. Okay, just make sure you circle 625. Okay, so what we're going to do first is talk about order of operations. Order of operations you might remember as PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, meaning that parentheses get worked before exponents. Multiplication and division are next. Those are done in order of left to right. So in other words, they're treated equally. It's just whichever one you come to first in the problem. Then we have addition and subtraction, also done the same way. First one left to right that you come to is the first one that you do. So we'll work a few practice problems together. On this first practice problem, we can see we've got a parenthesis. And within the parenthesis, we have a second parenthesis. So what we want to do is do the innermost parenthesis first, which would give us 18 minus 10, and all that big chunk is divided by 2. So we do what's in the parentheses, because that's a higher order. We have 8 divided by 2. Now we get an answer of 4. So we did the parentheses all the way through. Once we simplify within the parentheses, then we did our division. The second one, sometimes it's helpful to look at what all operations are involved in the problem. And in the second problem, we've got addition, division, multiplication. And division and multiplication are treated equally. What we do is we do the first one we come to first. So we're not going to worry about the addition yet, but we're going to go ahead and divide the 6 by 3, which will give us 2. Then we've got subtraction, but we also have multiplication here. 2 times 4 would give us 8. So addition and subtraction just go from left to right. We would have 12 plus 2 would give us 14, minus 8 would end up giving us 6. Okay? On the third one, in here we've got division, but we also have a parenthesis, and within the parenthesis we've got subtraction and division. So we always want to do the division part first. So I'll rewrite the beginning, 14 divided by 8 minus 20 divided by 2 is 10. Okay, carry down the first part, 14 divided by, then to remove the parenthesis, we're going to subtract 10 from 8, which will leave us a negative 2. Now we divide 14 by negative 2, and we have our answer of negative 7. okay? We're gonna take this a little further. We're going to evaluate our order of operations, but we are also going to be inserting a value in the equation for x and for y. So what you do when you insert values in place of a variable is you put the value in where the variable is and you put it in a parenthesis. So what I mean is it would look like this. It would be 3 times 3 squared plus 3 times, and I don't really need a parenthesis right here since the y leads off this expression, 0.5 minus 5. So we can do the parentheses. 0.5 minus 5 is negative 4.5. And if we wanted to go over here and simplify the exponent, we don't do 3 times 3 squared. We do 3 squared first, the exponent, then multiply by 3. So we would have 3 times 9. So we can simplify that to 27 plus 3 times negative 4.5, and I'm going to have to cheat on that, is going to be 1.5. It's going to be negative 13.5. So plus a negative 13.5. 27 plus a negative 13.5, or 27 minus 13.5 equals 13.5. Okay? Go to the next one. This says A times C minus B times D. So we take 8.2 times 4 minus a negative 3. Notice I didn't start a parenthesis here since it's the beginning of the equation, and that's okay. Because this was a negative, even though it's the beginning, excuse me, I shouldn't have said equation, I should have said expression. Even though this is, the B is at the beginning of the expression, since it's negative, I would recommend putting it in parentheses. So we have a negative 3 times a negative 1/2. I'm going to have to cheat on here. So we have 8.2 times 4 is 32.8. And then look, we've got minus times, or minus a negative times a negative. 1, 2, 3 negatives. Hopefully you'll remember this from Algebra 1. An odd number of negatives is going to give us a negative. So we can put a minus. And then this negative 3 times negative 1/2 is 3 halves, or if you'd rather put it as a decimal, since this isn't a decimal, that would be minus 1.5. Okay, so if we simplify there, we're going to have 31.3. Okay. This next one's going to be kind of a booger because we've got parentheses, we've got multiplication within the parentheses, so I'm just going to start with the 5 and go ahead and write it up front. And then I'm going to do 6 times C. So that would be 6 times 4 minus 8 times B, which is negative 3, plus 10 times D, which is negative 1/2. So we have, I left off a parentheses, my bad. So we'll have 5 times 24 minus 8 times negative 3. Well, there as a negative, and when we're multiplying even number of negatives, we're going to get a plus 24. Then we have 10 times negative 1/2, or half of 10, we make it negative, would be a negative 5. Okay, multiply the 5 and the 24, and that should give us 120. And for some reason, I'm thinking I'm off somewhere. Let's see, 5. Oh, I did that wrong. 5 is getting multiplied by everything. So let me do this. Let me take this 5 off of here. Put it all the way around like so. Then I can add and subtract what's in here and then multiply by 5. So this is going to give me 48 minus 5 is going to give me 43. 5 times 43 will equal, let's see, 1 will equal 215. So I apologize there. I was just thinking about the 5 being with the 6C, but it's actually with all of it. Okay, we've got a little fill in the blank here. And it reads that a mathematical formula is a mathematical sentence that expresses the relationship between certain quantities. If you know the value of every variable in the formula except for one value of a variable, you can use substitution and the order of operations to find the value of the remaining variable. An example of that would be this next problem. A person's basal metabolic rate, or BMR, is the number of calories needed to support his or her bodily functions for one day. The BMR of an 80-year-old man is given by the formula BMR equals 12W minus 0.02 times 6 times 12 times W, where W is the weight in pounds. What is the BMR of an 80-year-old man who weighs 170 pounds? First of all, if we look in the formula here, the BMR is given by this. There's nothing about the person's age in the formula, so we're going to be plugging in a 170 wherever the W's are. So we'll have 12 times 170 minus 0.02 times 6 times 12 times 170, and this is going to give us the BMR. This is one I would recommend punching in the calculator, and so I'm just going to give you the final answer, or tell you, well, all I could do is tell you this. This part, 12 times 170, is equal to 2040 minus, when we multiply 0.02 times 6 times 12 times 170, that gives us 244.8, which will yield a BMW, or excuse me, not BMW, BMR of 1795.2. 1795.2. Okay, and we've got one last example. The formula for the number of reams of paper needed to print N copies of a booklet that is P pages long equals, or is, R, which stands for reams, equals N, number of copies, times P, number of pages, divided by 500. 500 comes from the fact that there's 500 pieces of paper in a ream. So, R is the number of reams needed. How many reams must we buy to print 172 copies, so that's our N, of a 25-page book, that's our P. So we would have 172 times 25, all divided by 500, gives us our R. So when we multiply, we're going to end up with 4,300 divided by 500, and that comes out to R equals 8.6. But on this one, I'll caution you, you need to know that we're looking for how many reams we need in all. Well, 8 reams isn't enough because we need 8.6 reams. So instead of buying 8 reams, we're going to buy 9 reams. 9 reams. Okay, and then I want to point out, this is something really important. What did you learn, which is the acronym for that would be WDYL, and that's what you'll see as the year goes on. This is a sentence you're going to write each day about something that you learned. I apologize for the typo. This is worth 5 points on your daily grade. Again, the notes are 50 points of the grade. So you want to make sure that everything's included and that you write a sentence about what you know. What you learned, something you thought, or you can make a comment. You can make a comment about how I taught something or how I confused you on something. I read these every day. So it's just something about the lesson that I want you to write about, okay? And get in the habit of doing that every day, and that's 5 points on your note grade, okay? All right, well, good luck with this section 1.1. Thanks for watching.